Hey, how y'all doing out there? It is freezing, freezing, freezing in Oklahoma. I think the high right now is like 18, and all you people up north are probably going, "Hey, that's nice compared to us." I'm not used to it anymore. I grew up in Michigan and South Dakota, and so I'm was used to it. Not anymore. I've gotten spoiled. I'm not used to it anymore. We didn't get the 2 inches of snow we were supposed to get, but we got a little bit of snow on the ground. It looks like it blew all over the place and everything. But we got slick ice everywhere, and they closed down the highway. But, as long as I've been in Oklahoma, it don't matter what happens. It could get cold and everything. And they'll close the highway, and they'll close the schools and everything else and all that stuff. And so, schools are closed and all that fun stuff. And growing up in South Dakota, man, we had to get on there and check and see if we were going to be going to school or not on the little, because you have to listen for the radio or the news or whatever to see if there's going to be school that day and everything. And then you have to go sit outside and wait for the bus and freeze all day long. And then in Michigan, they have like these little huts and everything. At least you can stay warm in and everything. But it is freezing out there. It is cold, cold, cold. So I don't expect to have any customers today. So we're going to do this live early and say hi to everyone. If y'all have anything to talk about, that'd be cool. If anyone has any questions or anything, just let me know. We run a thrift store in Okmulgee, Oklahoma, me and my wife. And we've been together for about 5 years. But before that, I started it out a long time ago. We started out with buying, me and my friend, we'd buy all kinds of junk and sell it, furniture, all kinds of stuff. Then I eventually turned it into a video store. And then eventually we bought more toys and games and everything. We had 100,000 movies, 100,000 games, and toys everywhere next door and everything. I'm in the smaller building we bought. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this building yet. We're going to probably put some dollar stuff in it for now and keep it cheap and everything. But I'm going through everything and trying to clean out all the stuff I have all over the place and everything. I had a whole bunch of movies that needed to be recased, so I'm sitting here doing those and everything else. So I don't know what y'all doing on this freezing day, but I'm glad you could stop in and say hi. And if anyone has anything they'd like to say or do, just let me know. Man, I don't like this adjustable thing here. It's always jumping all over on me and everything, trying to get there. There we go. But I don't know what I'm doing most of the time. This is just something I started doing just for fun and everything. Back in the day, I don't know why I say back in the day, about I'm stuttering all over the place right now. But it's been about 8 months since my wife had, 9 months even now, since she had her accident. And she broke her pelvis and everything. And we were going to go on the road and do all kinds of stuff and everything. And we didn't do it because, she got hurt and everything. And so we sat at home for 3 months after we closed up the store because I got tired of people stealing stuff, got tired of people destroying stuff, because people just don't have a lot of respect for stuff. So we're here now and everything else, and we grew up to this and everything. So I've been cleaning out all this stuff, and I'm just mumbling all over the place with stuff because I'm just like freezing from being outside just a minute ago. So, yeah. And so we closed it up, and we went and did our stuff and everything else. And I came back and started to clear it out, and I was like, man, I don't know what to do with this store. No one wants to buy it and everything. No one wants the building and everything. Well, they do, but no one has the money to buy the stuff and everything. So we just keep going and going and going and everything. And I've converted the next door into a fill-a-bag like 5 years ago. And everything in there was fill-a-bag for $3. We had stuff stacked to the ceilings, box after box. I was buying semi-loads and everything else before me and my wife got married and all that stuff. And I had stacked everywhere. And I was going to the flea markets. I mean, I still have 20,000 T-shirts in the back, brand new, sitting there waiting for me to do something with them because we used to print shirts. I printed the shirts for the bands, Scream Red Mutiny, which is a friend of mine who passed away, and I have some other friends that were in the band. They're no longer together, but hopefully they'll be going back out and doing that stuff again. But if you want to check them out, you can get on the internet and check out Screen Red Mutiny on different platforms. So that's that and everything else. But we are freezing up here, and like my friends in Canada be like, "You ain't freezing. This ain't nothing." Well, you're right. It ain't nothing compared to you. And then what's funny about that is next week we're going to be in the 60s again. So then I'll be running all over, doing my stuff and everything else. Y'all can watch me put some stuff together. And if you want to get involved in the conversation, that'd be cool too. And I'm just turning this thing because the I can never get it adjusted just right. So when I'm in it, it's in the center and everything. So it keeps moving all over on me and all that other fun stuff. But so we've been here for 21 years doing this, and or I have been. My wife's been here 5 years helping me with it and everything else. And we just keep busy with it. And who knows? It's just, like I said, today's been a hard day. I'm just tired and cold and all that fun stuff. And we got up and had the freezing on the windshield and everything, and my wife, she didn't unstick the wiper from the window, and it broke. And so it's been an eventful day and everything. It is cold, cold, cold out there and everything, which it's not really bad snow because we were supposed to get 2 inches of snow, but we did not get 2 inches of snow and everything. So that's good. Got a little bit of snow out there, you can see, and everything. So it's not too bad out there, but it is cold. I definitely say it's cold. I'm not one that really likes the cold and everything. So far, this building here, we have pretty empty. I haven't decided, like I said, pretty much what I want to do with it, but one of these days I'm going to get on here and start cleaning out some other stuff, maybe clean out the back room and everything. But I'm having a hard time because I'm trying to keep up with everyone when they comment or anything and stuff like that. So I'm new to this. I'm getting used to it and everything. But I really wasn't going to do anything like this, but, you know, when I hang out with Kevin Smith, he told me straight up, you know, you're not dead yet. You need to do what you're going to do, man. Every day's a blessing. We need to go with it. And so I've been trying to, but I'm not real good at planning stuff and everything. So I just go start out and just start with a conversation. And today I just don't have anything. I feel like my brain is frozen solid and everything. I know some of you can relate to that. And I haven't had my CMOS, so my body's slowly not liking me and everything, because for some reason my body flushes out its vitamins real quick and everything. So I take CMOS and everything, and that really has helped and everything, but I haven't had a chance to get that ordered, and I need to get that ordered and get it here because I'm almost out, so I've been rationing it and everything. And but I've been here today. I've just been recasing these movies because we got movies that are in broken cases and everything, so I've been recasing them. We got about 4,000 of them. So tonight when I go on live, I'll be sitting there probably in my bedroom watching TV and just talking to you again, just recasing movies over there. Once I get those movies recased, maybe we can do some other stuff and I can start showing you the cool stuff I'd like to show you and everything, start getting out some of the other stuff and everything else. But with my autism, I like to keep things in track, because if I don't, I get lost real quick. And the next thing you know, I got so much stuff all over, so many projects and everything else going on. I don't know which way I'm going. So I try to keep up with that and do it that way. But it's hard because with my ADHD, that's where that comes in. I'm like, hey, but we could do this, we could do that, we can do this, we can do that, and we can do this, and everything else. And then I don't get anything done. So I know some of you can relate to that fun stuff and everything else. When I get excited and everything, I start rambling and start talking a little bit faster and everything. My wife's like, man, you talk so fast and everything else. I don't try to. I just get excited about stupid stuff and everything. I want to do some movies and stuff like that. We talked about doing podcasts and everything else. I don't know if you know who Vincent Pereira is. The link's in the bio if you want to get with him and buy some autographs and everything from him. But he is the View Askew historian. And if you don't know about View Askew, Kevin Smith Clerks, he was the one that worked with him at the Quick Stop and finally got Kevin convinced that he can actually do this. Because Kevin wanted to make the movie. He just didn't have the confidence to make the movie. And so that he kept pushing him and everything, and he finally got him to do it. And so Kevin repaid him by giving him the money to do his own movie, which I know a lot of you would be like, oh, man, a lot of these stories you tell are the same stories. Well, there's a lot of people out there that haven't heard these stories, so I'm going to probably keep telling stuff over and over all the time. But then I've got to get on to some of the newer stories, like stuff that's happened and everything, because we've had a lot happen over the years and everything. Just a lot of changes, a lot of this and that. And because I started from the ground up with this store. When I went to work for Walmart, I worked there for 4 years, and I put $1,000 a month into my 401. Whoops, I ripped that case. That was not good. Oopsie. And so I put $1,000 a month into my 401 and everything. And then about a year into it, I took 5,000 of it, bought me a BMW, you know, because something about BMWs. My first job was at a BMW dealership. And so I, for some reason, went nuts about BMWs, and everyone will tell you I'm nuts about BMWs and everything. So I bought that, and then I didn't touch the rest of the money until I moved to South Dakota for a little while, and we took a little bit more out and everything. So by the time I was done with everything I'd done, oh yeah, I took dirt. That's where it went. I took it all out, and I bought a house out here for $16,000. We paid cash for it. That's where all the money went. And I had like $2,000 left over, and I was working for Walmart and everything. And it's really hard when you're trying to follow a dream and everything, and you're trying to save money, because it takes really, really endurance, because you go without a lot. And and it's an up and down thing with the businesses and everything. Nowadays, we got the internet and everything else. And I got on eBay, and I had sold and sold and sold stuff. And we were making good money, but I had people that were working for me that kind of screwed that up for me. And then you get on there and try to get with them and try to get it figured out. And they're like, no, you're banned. We're not going to help you. So you got to be careful if you get on any of those platforms and you're trying to sell and you're going to make money. My favorite is just being at the flea market and being with everyone, in person and everything, because you get to get that connection with them and everything. A lot of us nowadays, we're on the internet, we're all doing that stuff and everything else. But I'm an older generation, and I like to do face-to-face and everything. And that's kind of cool. It's 3D. It holds two discs is what I was talking about to myself. Yeah, to you, it's like nothing. To me, it was kind of funny, because you don't see those too often and everything. So, yeah. So you go without a lot of the times, because what I would do is I'd make sure my kids and everyone else had everything they needed and everything. But, I would go without, because I want to make sure everyone else had their thing. But it's really hard to have a business, because sometimes you have the ups where you're making so much money, you don't know what you're doing and everything, and you just keep going at it. Then all of a sudden, you didn't save up because you bought more stuff for the store, you did this or you did that, or it's just all of a sudden here comes all the taxes and everything else, and the next thing you know, you ain't got nothing for a while. But you got your bills paid, and that's the main thing. So you'd be grateful for that. And I'm always blessed, because at least when it is rough, like right now, we've had this cold snap for off and on pretty much for the last couple of weeks. So business has been just horrible and everything else. But But I'm covered. I have my bills paid and everything else. I'm just waiting to get a few other things together and everything else. So it's rough running a business and everything, trying to get things together. But, if you keep going and everything and don't give up, you'll get there. And the point of this story is that a lot of people are scared to go on live. They're scared to do their videos. They're scared to put all that stuff out there. But if you do the work and you put in the time, eventually it's going to pay off. I mean, this business has paid off for me so many times and everything. It's just that I've made bad decisions at times with certain things, and I've done this or I've done that. And but the last 5 years, I haven't been trying to make a lot of money. I've just been trying to help a lot of people. We had the fill bag and everything. You could go in the whole 5,000 square foot, and we had clothes, we had dishes, you name it. It was in there. Fill a bag for $3 each and everything else. But my health is not the way it used to be, so I have a hard time bending over. I have a hard time doing this. Plus, you got to unload the trailer, you got to do this and everything else. So we had all the little stuff over here. We had all the DVDs stuffed in boxes back here. We had stuff on the shelves here, and it was just a big old cluster mess. But stuff was selling, and it worked out, and it was easier for me. But then I started taking my CMOS, and I could actually start walking a lot better, because right now my legs hurt and everything else, because I've only had a quarter of my CMOS and everything, where I get to the point where I'm just holding on to the tables trying to stand up. And that sucks. That's really hard to deal with and everything. So you just keep going and everything. Like when I was younger, this cold didn't bother me one bit. I'd wear shorts. People be like, shorts? Yeah, I grew up in Michigan and South Dakota, so I'm used to the cold. But now, I'm not so used to the cold. Now my body will tell me a few days before, guess what's coming and everything. Yeah, that's that cold and everything. And the fingers get all crampy and everything. And got frostbite on one of my toes years ago at the flea market and everything. So that toe will always tell me when it's getting ready to get cold, because it starts hurting and everything else. So then now I got arthritis throughout everything. But I always try to think young, in my mind, I'm still 25, 30 years old. I think I'll be 30 in my mind forever. But my body, I think I'm like 75 in my body. So, but we've had many car accidents and stuff like that because people aren't paying attention, and I've had different issues. So I just keep trying to go. I don't give up, and I just keep moving at it. So like today, it's so cold. I didn't want to come out and everything. Had to wait for the defrost to work on the truck and everything else because we're in Oklahoma. We don't really have ice scrapers and everything all over the place. And my wife always likes to hide this stuff anyway, so I can't find it and everything else because I have a big old long one and everything that we have at home. But I think she said it was in her car, but I don't know. It would have been nice, but she took off before I could use it, so I got to sit there and do that. Then we had the body work done on the car and everything, and they didn't tighten up her washer, I don't think, real good on the windshield wiper of her new car. So when she went to do it, she didn't snap the ice off of it, so it loosened up, and now her wiper won't move. So guess what I get to do? Hopefully she can wait a couple days before it to warm up, and then I can tighten that back up, and then we won't have a problem with that and everything else. But I would love for anyone to start a conversation or anything. If you have any questions, how many times have you really? If you ask my wife, she'd probably say about 100 times, but crazy and everything. But yeah, you don't want to be around me if I do that. That can be a stinky mess and everything else. I've been losing a lot of weight and everything, so yeah, that happens a lot. So glad y'all have a sense of humor out there and everything else. But yes, I fart a lot, so that is what it is and everything else. I'm sure we all do. They say we all fart hundreds of times a day anyway. So now, if y'all like that conversation, come on. Anyone else got a comment that takes me into stuff like that? That's my problem with being on TikTok Live. I have a bad sense of humor, and it can get out of hand and get pretty wild and everything, but I got to watch myself because I can drop all kinds of words. That's like the first time I went to New York, it amazed me because out there, I went to this one mechanic, and he was fixing my car, and every other word out of his mouth was the F-bomb. And I was just like, wow, that's just amazing, No one's offended and everything else. You come out here and you do that, and then you got people all freaking out on you and everything else. It don't bother me. It don't bother me at all. But there was this little old lady. She's like 85 years old trying to get her car fixed. And he's like, well, so F this, F that, F this, F that. And I was just like, wow. And it don't bother people out there. That's kind of cool, though. It's just some people can take a joke and some people don't. And it wasn't meant as a term towards them. It was just as a regular, how's your day going? Well, it's this kind of day, It's just a day. And it wasn't like, hey, it's this kind of person. So, I mean, that's pretty cool that people aren't so uptight around their area and everything. So I thought that was pretty cool. So any other questions? Preferably not about, yeah. So, I guess I don't really have much to say because I just keep going out in and out and everything with my brain because it's cold. My brain's frozen solid, I think. Got brain damage somewhere. But how many of you out there like to travel? Me and my wife, we love to travel. I've been traveling my whole life because I'm not even going to lie. When I was 17, 16, my dad always told me, I'm going to buy you a set of luggage and a one-way ticket out of here. I don't care where you go as long as you go away. Isn't that love? That's love right there. And so he actually did when I was 18. I'd already left quite a few times before that, but I kept coming back because I was stupid and didn't know what I was doing half the time. But he actually bought me a one-way ticket and a set of luggage, and I ended up in Virginia. I moved out to Virginia for a while. I wish I would have done more and taken off different directions, but hindsight's 2020. We don't know about stuff like that. I don't know if you ever been to Virginia. It's cool out there. They got a lot of flea markets and everything. I bought my first BMW out there. It had a 202, which is a 2002, but it was actually a 1971 BMW, but it's called a 202, which the is the zeros, 2002. When I say 2002, they're like, how'd you have a 2002 BMW back 30 years ago? You can't, because that's not how that works. But that's actually the name. They also have a 1600 and all that other stuff, like a 1969. So I bought that, and I bought two of them. and I was going to redo them and everything, but that didn't work out so well for me because my aunt's like, I don't want this in our driveway too long. You got to get rid of it. So I ended up giving away one of them for like $100 after I stripped it out and everything. It still ran perfect and everything. It had some damage on it and everything, but I found another one that had no damage, and it ran great. And I drove that thing all the way from Virginia back to South Dakota when I went back to South Dakota for some reason. I went back. I keep going back and everything. But I drove it all the way back. I had that car forever. And my brakes went out one day, and I was behind this big old truck with the big old diamond plate rear end bumper and everything. And my brakes went out, and I hit them brakes, and they stuck. That pedal did not come back. And all I did was just buckle down and just took it, smashed right into that truck, destroyed the whole front of that car and everything. And so I got out, and I was like, man, I'm so sorry and everything. He goes, I'm good, man. There ain't no damage to my car. We don't need to call the cops. We don't need to do insurance. We don't do anything to that because, I mean, it is a rear ending. So technically it's your fault if you want to take care of it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I have no problem with that. Because back then, a lot of us didn't carry insurance. I mean, back then it was, that was 30-some years, about 30 years ago, because I think I was only 20 years old then. So, yeah, that was over 30 years ago and everything else. So, yeah, and what's funny about that is we had this BMW, and I had a friend, my brother had a friend that painted cars and all this other stuff, and he had painted a car with these spray cans, and he did a really, really good job. And so I was like, hey, if I go buy the paint, will you spray this BMW up? I got it all primed up. And so they went and got red, and they spray painted it up. Man, that was the most horrible paint job I ever seen in my life. It was just all shaded, and it was just horrible and everything else. But back then, I had been buying up cars. I bought a Saab from someone, and it was actually my dad's friend's daughter's car that she had her first car when she was 16, and I bought it like 5-6 years later. Well, I eventually blew up the engine in it because it was already going bad and everything. So it ended up being sold for like $200 for parts. And then I had an Audi that I had bought. I paid $750 for it, which was pretty good because it was only like a few years old, but the shocks were out in the front. So when you're going down the road, it'd be like, ding, 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 you know, and everything else. And I was just going to sell it to my friend, and he blew the head gasket in it and everything. And so I put this Slick 50 in there, and we drove that car for another 6 months with the blown head gasket. And we'd be going down the road and everything. And then all of a sudden, you'd see this big old puff of smoke. It'd start chugging out. And then you see this big puff of smoke. Woof! And it would cover the whole highway. And we did this for 6 to 8 months driving this car. And eventually one day it went woof. Whoom, 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 whoom. And it would not go anymore. So we parked it on the side of the road. And we went to get the truck and everything, went back the next day. And there was a note on the car. Hey, if you want to sell the car, let me know, blah, blah, blah. So I go over to this guy's house after I call him and everything. And he has his son's Audi in the garage, and all the windows are smashed out. He went to a party, his son did, and they smashed out all his windows. I was like, man, this is not a party I want to go to, not my kind of friends, you know, if they're going to destroy my stuff and everything else. And they're like, well, some were friends, some were not, and everything else. But they all got drunk and bashed out all the windows on this car, had a big old dent across the hip. And he's like, well, how much do you want for the car? Well, I was like, well, I paid this much for it, so I'd like to get that much for it. And so he gave me the $750 for the car because they wanted like $2,500 to replace the windows in his car. And I'm like, heck yeah, I'll take it. And so he paid me the $750. He went and towed the car, and I didn't have to mess with it. So that was pretty cool and everything. And then so I went and bought me a Saab. I want to say it was a Saab. I don't know what year it was. It was like a 1996 or 92. It was an older one because, I mean, this was back 30 years ago, so it had to have been about a 92, I say, maybe a 90. I think it was an 86 maybe, because that was back long ago. And I had bought it, and I didn't even have this thing for a week. And I'm going down the road, and this lady pulls out, smacks me, spins me around in the road, and then turns around, and I'm standing there going, what the heck, trying to figure out license plate, everything else, because she drove on off. Then she turns around, comes back, and she goes, oh my God, did someone hit you? And I was like, you hit me. And she goes, I did? Oh my gosh, here's my driver's license. And then she turns around, gets in the car, and took off. And I'm like, did this really just happen? So I call the police and everything. They get down there. And they're like, well, and everything. Well, if we could find her and everything, we'll get her and everything. I don't even think she got a hit and run ticket, but they found her the next day. She hadn't been drinking, obviously. So she avoided her DUI by driving off, but she got leaving the scene of accident and everything. And so they paid for my car. They literally gave me what I paid for that whole car and everything. I got I think I paid $2,000 for it. Plus, it had the engine rebuilt for $1,000 in the thing. And then they also gave me $1,000 for whiplash or whatever and everything. So I made $4,000, and I paid off the car instantly with that. And but it had on the back, on the passenger side, it had a big old dent in the side up to the wheel right there. But it was like $2,000 just to fix this damage and everything. So I totaled out the car, and I only had it for by the time they paid me up, I'd only had the car for a month, and I already made $2,000 profit off of it. But the problem with that car is eventually it had some other issues, but I drove the heck out of that car. It was the best free car I ever had in my life and everything. It had some issues. I think we had a pin fall out of the transmission one time, and the coupler, it was out of the coupler where you shift and everything. So it was just getting around, and we had to put that pin back in. And then on the front, there's supposed to be a nut with the pin in it. For some reason, we couldn't get that thing to stay on and everything. So you'd be driving down the road after a while, and it would just loosen up and everything. And back then, I didn't know much about cars and everything. I didn't know all that stuff. But the idiot that was helping me didn't tell me you were supposed to put a lock pin in there to keep that from doing that and everything. Eventually, I had some guy weld it, and it never did that again and everything. So it worked out and everything. But, yeah, that was crazy how that worked out. And everything. But we took that car. I remember we took that car. My favorite car is the BMW 850i, but not this new one they have. It's the one back in 1990 that they had out back in there was my favorite car back then. And because this thing was great. It had a V12 engine in it and everything. It'd fly through and everything. Well, me and my friend were out one day. We were just sitting at home and whoops, I'm hitting the wrong buttons here. I'm trying to look at something and everything. But, yeah, we're getting close. So we had the car, and, yeah, I'm stuttering again. I do that once in a while. But we had this car, and I told my friend, I said, hey, what are you doing today? He goes, I don't know. I'm really sad about this girl and everything. And he was dating this one girl, and she was crazy, And so he was all sad and everything. She broke up with him. And there was another girl out in Washington that he was sad about. And so I was like, okay, let's just go for a drive and everything. Because going for a drive, you always feel better and everything. So we went for this long drive. We were in Rapid City, South Dakota. We just drove. We were going to go to Devil's Tower in Wyoming. We were just going to go out there. So we drove out there. We drove to Devil's Tower. We get there. And we're doing our thing. We're having a go time. It's closed, obviously, because normally when we go take our drives, this is not unusual for us to do, but normally we didn't go as far as we went this time. So we went out, and we got to Devil's Tower. And we were like, man, I don't want to go home. I don't want to go home either. So what are we going to do? Well, let's keep driving. We keep driving and everything. So we get to the other end of Wyoming and everything, and we're still driving and everything. And next thing you know, we're like, hey, let's go to Montana. Let's just keep going and everything and see what we can do. And we just keep going and going. Back when gas was cheap, I think we were paying like $1.10 a gallon. You get to Washington, it's like 96 cents a gallon and everything else back in the day. So we just kept on going and everything. And I was like, hey, what about that girl that broke up with you? You're all pining over and everything. Why don't you go talk to her and see if you can get her back? And she was in Washington State, all the way in Tacoma, Washington. And everything. So he had her address, but he hadn't really been talking to her. So we go out there. He finally calls her and everything. He gets a hold of someone. He gets a hold of her. He goes to her school, and she's not there and everything. They tell her. He finds out how to get a hold of her. He does. He calls her and everything. And so we go, because she was going to alternative school. She was like 20 years old at that time. And so he gets there, and she's got a kid, and dating someone else and all that other stuff. So that deal didn't all fly. He was like, well, if you ever come back to me, blah, blah, blah. Well, that never happened. That flirtation never happened. But we went all the way to Tacoma, Washington. He called into work. He bounced checks left and right because we didn't have money. Back then, that was the game, bounce a check, bounce a check, bounce a check. Because normally what you do is you write the check back in the day and you could get the money into the bank before it bounced. So we didn't have a lot of bouncing and everything. Well, this was not a planned venture, so yeah, we never got the money back in the bank, but we did stupid stuff like that all the time and everything else. But we were going to Washington. The reason I said about the BMW 850i, the first time I ever saw one, which I've seen plenty of them now. Heck, nowadays, if you look around, you can buy one for about $10,000. The only problem is you're probably going to put $10,000 to $20,000 into fixing them because if that motor blows, you are screwed. So we were going over the mountains, coming into Seattle and everything, and here comes this guy in this 850i, and he's just flying up the mountain and everything, just flying through it. And so I just rev up my Saab turbo, and it literally sounds like, And so we're going up the hill, and this guy's just going like this. Here's the two of us and everything. We're right here, and he's coming up, and all of a sudden he just goes like this. Just glides on by. Don't even speed up. He just glides on by. And everything else. So I'm like, I'm trying to get caught up and everything. And yeah, we never caught up with him. We just kept going and going and going. And yeah, we never caught up with him. But it was fun. We had fun. We went and did that stuff. Well, so years later, I moved out to Vancouver, Washington, which was awesome out there. And I've had friends live out in Seattle. Seattle is crazy, though, out there. If you don't get past the turn when you're going through Seattle before a certain time, you ain't ever going to make it home that night because it's just so crowded with people and everything. And I remember I had just made it one night when I was delivering a car out there for the dealership and everything. And they told me, if you don't make it past that point at this time, you ain't coming home. And I was like, matter of minutes. I made it, and I made it home on time. And I made it to the store and everything. So it worked out and everything. But yeah, we used to go out and do all kinds of stuff. I remember one time I drove from Virginia all the way back to South Dakota. No sleep, no nothing, just drove straight on through. And everything else. When you're young, you have the endurance to do stuff like that. But when you get older like me, you don't have that much endurance. Nowadays, you pull over and you're like stopping at the rest area like 5 times a day, sleeping, all that type of stuff. And so that's how that goes. But as we get older, we don't have the endurance to do all that. My eyes are not the same and everything. So I've got to be much more careful. And nowadays, when I start getting tired, I'm just like, okay, it's time to pull over. Back in the day when I got tired, I'm like, hey, we need to get some more coffee and soda or whatever, and let's go. And everything else. That's so it was all fun. But we enjoyed it. And everything, but yeah, I'd go days without sleeping at times when I was younger and everything, being stupid, partying and all that stuff and everything else. And man, you get kind of crazy if you don't sleep. You just like, huh? So yeah, it's not a good day. I remember I slept through my brother's wedding. He called me on the day of his wedding going, where are you? I'm like, I'm sleeping. He goes, well, I'm getting married. I'm like, well, congratulations. You picked the wrong day. This is my sleeping day, which is kind of rude. I shouldn't have done that, but I was tired. So I've learned a little bit more not to do stuff like that and everything else. But we've all been there. We've all been wild. And we've all done stupid stuff. And I think I've run out of cases here for some of this stuff to do that. So that's all fun and everything else. But maybe when I go live again later, y'all can tell me some of your wild stories and everything. Maybe one of these days we can have a discussion on here and everything else. So I don't know what y'all have to plan for today, but stay warm, stay safe, and I'm going to take a break here and probably come back in about 20 minutes or less, and we'll do another round of stories and everything. I can tell you about all kinds of different stuff and everything else, but I got to go do some stuff, take care of some business and everything. And we appreciate you stopping in. And if you want to know more about my life and see some of the videos and everything, we got different stuff going on. We got different links or got different videos on TikTok and everything if you want to see what we went through with my wife and our accident and some of the other stuff and everything, some of the travels we do and all that stuff and everything else. And so we got all kinds of things going on. We just do the best we can, keep going You know, you don't give up. You just keep going. But I remember when I was younger, we used to do all that stupid stuff. Y'all remember that stupid stuff you used to do and everything else. I remember I got my own house when I was like 16 and everything. And funny thing about that is when I was 16, I had the house. And we had all kinds of parties. We had all kinds of stuff. But that's when I learned my valuable lessons that you can't trust everyone. Because I was living with these guys, and they robbed me blind. They stole my jacket. They stole my DVDs. They stole my music. They stole just about everything they could just to make money, just so they could keep doing their stuff. Back then, things were cheap. But I remember I had this one girl. She stole all my music CDs, took them to the pawn shop, sold them. I go to the police station. I go to file a report. And he goes, oh, we're going to check into that. So he's like, yeah, she's incarcerated. We talked to her and everything, but she had planned on getting them back for you and everything. So technically, she didn't steal them. She just pawned them to get some money and then was going to give them back to you. So it's not technically stealing. And I'm like going, what? It's not technically stealing. You didn't have permission to take it, and you ain't got a loan, but it's not technically stealing. How does that work out? Well, she had planned on giving it back. So if you leave your keys in your car out here and I take off with it and I wreck it and I can't bring it back and everything, then it's not technically stealing because I meant to bring it back to you, but I flipped it in the middle. So technically you can't file charges on me, right? He did not like that conversation, told me I was being a smarty and I need to leave and everything else. So, you know, they don't want to help young kids back then either. So, you know how that goes. It is what it is. You do what you do and everything else. And I remember days of all kinds of stuff. We used to sit on the strip and cruise and drive and all that other stuff and everything else. Back then, the gas and dash was really big and everything. And I had these friends that were doing it all the time. And I was like, I went with them one time in their car, and I was like, no, we can't do that. So I went and paid for the damn gas so I didn't get in trouble and everything. Yeah, that's how much of a tart I am. Speaking of being a tart, back years ago, I had this van, and I was still learning about brakes and all that other stuff on vehicles and everything. And I lived in Utah, and I had my house was right here, and then I had right next door was the 7-Eleven. Well, it's cold out like it is today, and my dummy, the dummy I am, decided I was going to go get some stuff from there. But for some reason, I didn't know my brakes were going bad, but they were. So I drove out, and I went literally all the way around the block just because I was too lazy to walk out and everything. And my brakes went out just as I pulled into that driveway. And I got up to the 7-Eleven, and I hit the brakes, and there was no brakes. My brakes were gone. I guess my pads had worn totally out back then, and I didn't know anything about cars. And but I learned real quick and everything. So once I did that,
how you doing?
Pretty good. But what happened is I ended up going through the 7-Eleven with my car and smashed out all the windows in there as well. So, how you all doing today?
Oh, we're doing. It's cold.
It is cold. Where are you at?
We're in Arkansas.
Oh, so you ain't too far away.
No?
We're in Oakmobile, Oklahoma.
I have no idea what just happened there.
We're getting hit with that snow right now.
Well, we didn't get snow. They said we were going to get about 2.5 inches last night, but it just but it's slickered and snot all over the place.
Oh, yeah. No, they're calling for 12 inches.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
And then next week we're going to be in the 60s.
Same here. Same here.
That just blows my mind. I mean, I'm from Michigan stuff. I've been down here 20-some years now. I'm not used to it anymore.
It was 70 degrees last week.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Like the hayfield started turning green.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, we're getting a foot of snow. Like, no, I'm over it.
Yeah, but February, we know that this time of year, every year we get a little bit of snow about this time. But it's kind of a freak thing. It comes and goes, you know? It
usually
goes back and forth.
Usually down here, we're winding down on winter right now.
Yeah, this could be the last of it. I think we're going to start seeing our 60s now from here on out.
I hope so.
I hope so too, because I got so much stuff to get done at this shop. It ain't even funny. I am so behind.
We got so much stuff to get done on the ranch. It's ridiculous.
Oh God, I wouldn't even want to even think about that, man. Getting out in that cold. I mean, I come to the store to do my TikTok live because everyone's at the house and there's not really much privacy there.
Yep.
I gave up my room to some other things and everything. So my room is shut.
We just jump on here. My little one likes to help bake everything, so we're making cookies. He's right there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, my wife does most of the cooking. Anything I cook, she don't even touch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she don't like my cooking. But I never have the time to actually do actual really cooking. Or most of my cooking is, oh, let's throw this together. Let's throw that together. Oh, look, I made a pizza.
Now we shoot, I'm ready for barbecue season too.
I'm just ready for it to warm up.
Oh gosh.
I moved down this way, so I wouldn't have to deal with this cold.
I know, right? It's amazing how we do that. We moved down south, so we won't have to deal with it.
I talk to my friends up in Canada and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I'd rather be here.
It's just crazy.
It is. It's gotten crazier and crazier.
Oh yeah.
That's like we normally we were going to go out to Thursday and everything, and the last time we were going to go, it snowed like crazy, and we're like, well, I'm glad we're at home instead, and everything. But I'm hoping to go out there for my birthday, but hopefully the snow will have passed by then.
I'm waiting for it to all melt off.
Yeah, it won't take long. The only problem is the next 2 days are going to be miserable.
Oh yeah. We're supposed to be getting the negatives tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be negative tonight, and then we're going to have, I think, the high of 17 tomorrow, and then the next day a high of 14 or something.
Yeah.
So that keeps changing, so it keeps going down more and more.
Oh, you got to put that in the microwave? You do it, buddy. You got this. You're a professional. There you go.
There you go. My mom used to cook with me, and she'd tell me, you need to learn how to cook, so when you get out there and everything, and you're on your own, you know how to cook and take care of yourself.
I know how to barbecue. I got that down.
I like barbecuing. I just don't have a barbecue anymore, and I haven't done it for years. We used to have a barbecue outside of the store, and we'd barbecue and cook out there while we're remodeling and doing all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't done that in years. That was probably 12 years ago since we've done that now.
Oh.
It just seems like the older you get, more time flies, and you don't have time for anything. It seems like you get busier and busier as time goes by.
Oh, tell me about it.
It just never stops.
No, especially when you got little ones too.
Oh yeah, I passed that phase. Now we got the grandbabies doing that. We got 2 grandbabies with us, and then my daughter and her husband live with us. So we got the grandbabies on, but I don't have to be attentive to them all the time. So that helps out. If I had to take care of them all the time, I think I would go crazy now. My wife just got her a puppy, and that thing's driving me nuts just trying to take care of it, you know, because I'm always doing this and that.
Oh, I feel you on that. We got so many ranch animals, and they're all pregnant right now. I'm just afraid they're going to give birth in the snow.
Oh, gosh, hope not. That's, yeah. It's just a lot of work taking care of ranch.
If they do, we're going to have babies inside the house.
That's crazy. Yeah, well, hopefully this will be gone before that happens.
Hopefully.
Hopefully Monday, Monday's still far away because it's like Monday now. So next week, we're going to be in the 60s. Right now, we're like sitting here freezing. That's crazy.
Daddy!
What? I'm holding it.
Daddy!
I see. You being crazy?
Mommy!
My grandson, he's got a little over 2, and he loves to play with dishes and everything. Mom and Dad are cooking in the kitchen and everything. So they got him out in a little kitchen and all kinds of stuff now, and he just loves to do that because Dad likes to cook and Mom likes to cook too.
Oh, yeah. We bought a couple different stools so they could actually get up and help out and everything else.
Yeah, I could see him doing that. And when he gets a little bit older, I said, well, They got a school right now that goes up to the counter, and I think eventually he'll be doing the same thing. So that'd be cool.
Our 10-month-old climbs up there and tries to help out too, and I'm like, boy, you're just growing too fast.
Yeah, they do grow fast. I mean, don't blink because that time's going to be over before you know it.
Oh yeah.
Because our oldest between me and my wife, our oldest is 30 years old, and the youngest is 19, and we have 6 kids together. So yeah,
More power to you. We only got 4.
Yeah, it's a handful, isn't it? Yeah, definitely keep a handful.
Oh yeah. Well, it was a pleasure talking to you, bud.
Well, it was. I'm gonna get off here too and do some other stuff.
All right.
Anytime, jump in if you want.
Yes, sir.
You have a good one.
You too.
You too. Are you Mark?
Nope. We are Mating Rock Ranch.
Yeah, that's right. I was gonna say something else popped up, and I was like, "Oh yeah." Yeah, I thought that was right. I have fun because I just now started doing these lives, and something just popped up, and I don't know how to get off my screen now. So I was like, "That's not who I was talking to." But you have a great day. Stay safe. Try to stay warm. I'm gonna get off here and go do some stuff. And have fun with the kids while you can.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.
I know in a few days you get to work, so
Oh yeah.
you should get to have a little bit of time with the kids. You know?
Always.
That's one way to look at it. But then you have to look at the fun you got coming up soon. Catch up with you. That's the only part that sucks.
Oh yeah.
So you have a great one. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Have a good one.
Daddy, I
I
got
figure out how to make this thing. There we go.